Pontius Pilate, Caiaphas, Herod Antipas, and lastly Judas Iscariot, one of the disciples who betrayed Jesus, along with the chief priests, elders, scribes, and Pharisees, all played significant roles in the conspiracy that led to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. These figures, driven by a shared agenda, were instrumental in the plot that resulted in the death of the Son of God over 2,000 years ago. This dark chapter in history, marked by a series of malevolent actions, not only shook the world, but also had profound implications for humanity. From a Christian perspective, the crucifixion of Jesus is viewed as a self-sacrificial act of immense love and redemption. Christians believe that Jesus accepted his death willingly as a means to atone for the sins of mankind, including the grievous sin committed by those who orchestrated his unjust death. Despite this belief in divine purpose, the individuals who were directly involved in this tragic event were not absolved of their responsibility. Their actions, driven by personal and political motives, have been the subject of much reflection and scrutiny. But what became of these individuals after their involvement in the crucifixion? How did their lives unfold, and what were the consequences they faced for their actions? The historical records provide insights into their fates, revealing the severe and often tragic ends that befell them. These accounts offer a sobering perspective on the consequences of their decisions and actions. In this video, we will delve into the lives of these key figures and explore the details surrounding their eventual deaths. We'll uncover the truth behind their involvement in the trial and execution of Jesus, examining their motivations and the broader implications of their actions. By following this journey, you will gain a deeper understanding of this pivotal event in history and its impact on both the past and present. Watch the video to understand its powerful message and connect with the deeper spiritual meaning. Your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing helps us spread the gospel and strengthen the Christian community. Our first focus is on Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor who played a pivotal role in the trial and crucifixion of Jesus. His actions are documented across all four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, where his involvement in the proceedings is detailed. As the Roman governor of Judea, Pilate wielded considerable power, overseeing military, financial, and judicial matters in the province. His authority extended to the administration of taxes, the minting of coins, and ultimately, the life or death of prisoners. Pilate's role in condemning Jesus to death highlights his significant influence over the events that transpired, making his actions a focal point in the narrative of Jesus' crucifixion. To maintain control over Judea, the Roman Empire appointed King Herod to govern the region under its authority. Within the Jewish community, the dominant religious belief, Judaism, wielded considerable influence. During this time, a growing number of people began to follow Jesus, which sparked envy and resentment among the Jewish priests and elders. Fearing that their authority and livelihood might be undermined if Jesus continued to gain followers, they plotted to have him killed. They bribed Judas, one of Jesus' disciples, to betray him. Judas agreed, leading to Jesus being arrested and brought before the high priest. There, the priests, elders, and scribes concocted false charges against him, subjected him to a mock trial, and brutally beat him. However, under Roman rule, the Jewish higher court lacked the power to execute anyone. Consequently, they bound Jesus and took him to the Roman governor's palace, seeking to have him judged by Pilate. The Jewish leaders accused Jesus of inciting rebellion against the Roman emperor and refusing to pay taxes, hoping these charges would compel Pilate to sentence him to death. Pilate, having heard of Jesus' reputation, was particularly interested in the case. His own son, Peter, had been afflicted with a mysterious illness that had paralyzed one of his legs and left him bedridden. Despite numerous doctors' efforts, Peter's condition seemed hopeless until Jesus miraculously healed him. Pilate, who was deeply grateful for this miracle, conducted the initial interrogation of Jesus. During this questioning, Jesus refuted the accusations made by the Jewish authorities and spoke to Pilate about his purpose. "For this I was born, and for this I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth." Pilate, realizing Jesus' innocence, declared, "I find no fault in this man." Pilate understood that the accusations against Jesus were driven by jealousy and a desire to eliminate him. Furthermore, Jesus had performed a miracle for his son, which made Pilate reluctant to condemn him. However, the Jewish leaders were relentless in their demands for Jesus' execution, refusing to accept any alternative. Pilate, seeking to avoid conflict with the Jewish authorities and hoping to maintain peace during his term, devised a strategic plan. He decided to send Jesus to King Herod, who was in Jerusalem at the time, for a judgment. When Jesus appeared before Herod, the king hoped to witness some miraculous signs. However, Jesus refused to perform any miracles as a spectacle. Instead, he remained silent in the face of Herod's mockery. Herod, dissatisfied and not wanting to antagonize the Jewish leaders, sent Jesus back to Pilate. Accompanying Jesus was a letter from Herod that read, "This prisoner must be dealt with swiftly tonight, as I am traveling to Rome tomorrow and intend to speak favorably of you to the emperor." Simultaneously, Herod sent emissaries to subtly suggest that Pilate should order Jesus' execution, under threat of reporting Pilate's inaction to the emperor. This maneuver placed Pilate in a difficult position, caught between maintaining his standing with the Jewish authorities and upholding justice. Governor Pilate found himself in a precarious situation as he was compelled to re-examine Jesus under the relentless pressure of the Jewish elders. The atmosphere was charged with hostility, as the crowd, stirred up by these elders, demanded Jesus' execution. Pilate, grappling with the intense pressure and turmoil, ultimately succumbed to their demands and condemned Jesus to crucifixion. Despite his decision, Pilate tried to absolve himself of guilt. He presented Jesus to the priests and the gathered people, declaring, "You have brought this man to me, accusing him of inciting rebellion. I have examined him in your presence and found no grounds for the charges you have leveled against him. Herod too found no fault and sent him back to us. Clearly, he has done nothing deserving of death. Therefore, I will have him flogged and then release him." It was the time of the Passover festival, a period when it was customary for the Roman authorities to release one prisoner chosen by the people. Pilate hoped this tradition might offer him a way out. However, to his dismay, the crowd, fueled by the Jewish elders' demands, preferred the release of Barabbas, a known murderer, over Jesus. The elders even threatened Pilate, saying, "If you release Jesus, you are not a friend of Caesar." This threat terrified Pilate, as he feared the implications for his career and position. Pilate led Jesus to a location called Golgotha, previously used as a site for legal proceedings, and continued to advocate for Jesus' release. He reiterated his stance, questioning the crowd a third time. What crime has he committed? He declared that he had found no reason for punishment and proposed to discipline Jesus and release him. Yet the crowd's cries grew louder, demanding crucifixion. Pilate, overwhelmed and fearing a potential uprising that could jeopardize his status and promotion, resorted to a symbolic gesture of washing his hands in front of the crowd, proclaiming, "I am innocent of this man's blood. It is your responsibility." Despite this public display of disavowal, Pilate's attempt to disassociate himself from the decision did not absolve him of guilt under the laws of his time. As the highest judicial authority in the region, he had the duty to uphold justice and the law. Jesus had not breached any legal statutes, nor was there evidence to substantiate the charges against him. Pilate's failure to enforce legal principles and his submission to mob pressure constituted a dereliction of his judicial responsibilities. Furthermore, as the governor, he should have acted to quell any potential unrest, rather than capitulate to the demands of the rebellious crowd. The broader context reveals that Jesus' death was the culmination of a series of betrayals and failings. Judas Iscariot's betrayal set the stage, followed by the fervent hostility of the Jewish religious leaders and King Herod, who, along with the incited crowd, played a crucial role. Pilate's own fear and reluctance to stand up to the crowd contributed significantly to the outcome. Thus, Pilate's actions and decisions were pivotal in ensuring that an innocent man was sentenced to death, marking him with a permanent stain of injustice. Pilate's retribution began almost immediately after the crucifixion. His son Peter, who had been healed by Jesus, suddenly fell gravely ill and died. This tragic event was followed by Pilate himself, falling severely ill and slipping into a prolonged unconscious state. This was merely the beginning of his punishment. Shortly after, King Herod, having broken his promises, rejected Pilate and endorsed his own ally for the Roman emperor's consideration. Pilate was recalled to Rome and faced accusations that led to his trial in the Senate. He was beaten, stripped of his official position, and exiled to Gaul. In exile, Pilate's life unraveled further. Stripped of his property and wealth, he lived in destitution and scorn, shunned by society and avoided even by children. His dream of advancement was shattered, and the disdain of the Roman emperor added to his miseries. Eventually, Pilate's despair drove him to madness. In a final act of desperation, he set himself on fire. His remains were then bound to a stone and cast into a river, marking a grim end to a once powerful figure who failed in his moment of judgment. King Herod Antipas, also known as Herod the Great, was a pivotal figure in the history of Judea and the broader Roman Empire during the era of Jesus Christ. Born in Idumea, which is now southern Israel, around 73 BC, Herod was of Edomite descent and rose to prominence through a combination of political skill and strategic alliances with the Roman authorities. Appointed king of Judea by the Roman Senate in 40 BC, Herod's reign was marked by a mixture of grand architectural achievements and ruthless political maneuvering. Herod's reign was distinguished by his ambitious building projects that aimed to modernize and expand the kingdom of Judea. Among his most notable contributions was the extensive renovation and expansion of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, a project that aimed to solidify his legacy and demonstrate his devotion to Judaism. He also oversaw the construction of the impressive fortress at Masada and the establishment of the port city of Caesarea Maritima, which became a significant hub of trade and culture. Despite these accomplishments, Herod's rule was also characterized by intense political intrigue and personal turmoil. His numerous marriages and the complex dynamics within his family led to frequent power struggles and conflicts. His efforts to maintain control were marked by severe measures, including the execution of perceived rivals and members of his own family. Notably, Herod's reign saw the execution of 3 of his sons and 1 of his wives, reflecting the brutal nature of his governance. Herod's relationship with the Roman Empire was a key aspect of his rule. His loyalty to Rome was evident in his efforts to maintain stability and align himself with Roman interests. This alignment, however, did not shield him from the personal and political challenges that arose during his reign. Herod's death in 4 BC came after a period of intense suffering. The historical accounts describe his final days as marked by severe physical ailments, including chronic itching, abdominal pain, difficulty breathing, convulsions, and an infection in his genitals. Modern experts speculate that these symptoms were likely due to complications from gout or kidney failure, though some interpret his agonizing death as a form of divine retribution for his many cruelties. King Herod Antipas is perhaps best remembered for his role in the events leading up to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. While he was not directly responsible for Jesus' execution, he played a part by sending Jesus to Pontius Pilate, thus facilitating the process that would lead to Jesus' crucifixion. Herod's reign also saw the horrific massacre of the infants in Bethlehem, as he sought to eliminate the potential threat posed by the prophesied Messiah. This event is described in the Gospel of Matthew. "A voice was heard in Ramah, weeping in great lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted because they are no more." Matthew 2:18. Following Herod's death, his kingdom was divided among his sons, leading to continued instability and unrest in the region. Herod's legacy remains complex. While he is acknowledged for his substantial contributions to the infrastructure and development of Judea, his harsh rule and the violence he inflicted upon his own people leave a darker imprint on history. His reign stands as a testament to the intricate balance of power, ambition, and cruelty that characterized his era. Next, we are going to reveal the portrait of Caiaphas, a central figure in the trial of Jesus Christ. Caiaphas, also known as Joseph Caiaphas, held the prestigious position of high priest in Jerusalem during the time of Jesus in the early 1st century AD. He was a significant leader in the Jewish religious community, serving as the high priest from approximately 18 to 36 AD. His role encompassed overseeing religious practices, maintaining order within the Jewish community, and acting as a liaison between the Jewish people and the Roman authorities, who wielded considerable influence over Judea during that era. As the head of the Sanhedrin, the Jewish council, Caiaphas was responsible for adjudicating religious and legal matters. His collaboration with the Roman governor Pontius Pilate was crucial, especially given the political landscape of the time. The cooperation between Caiaphas and Pilate is particularly evident in the trial of Jesus. Caiaphas presided over the proceedings before the Sanhedrin, where Jesus faced accusations that led to his condemnation. This resulted in Jesus being handed over to Pontius Pilate, who then sentenced him to crucifixion. The Gospels of Luke, Mark, John, and Matthew provide detailed accounts of Caiaphas's role in these events. His involvement highlights the complex interplay between political and religious dynamics. Caiaphas's actions, marked by betrayal and political maneuvering, underscore the intricate nature of human motives and the need for repentance and moral reflection. Despite his significant role, Caiaphas's life did not conclude without controversy. Although he continued to serve as high priest after the crucifixion of Jesus, his tenure was marked by increasing tensions and conflicts within the Jewish community. His leadership came to an end around 36 AD, when Roman authorities removed him from office. This removal was likely influenced by the growing political instability and dissent within the Jewish religious establishment. Turning our focus to Judas Iscariot, we encounter another pivotal figure in the narrative of Jesus' last days. Judas Iscariot, one of the 12 disciples of Jesus, is infamously known for his act of betrayal, which led to Jesus' arrest and crucifixion. His surname, Iscariot, suggests that he hailed from Kerioth, a town in Judea, distinguishing him from the other disciples. Entrusted with managing the group's finances, Judas's role was initially one of responsibility. However, the Gospel of John reveals that his actions were driven by greed and a love for money. According to Matthew 26:14-16, Judas's betrayal was motivated by a financial incentive. He agreed to hand over Jesus to the chief priests in exchange for 30 silver coins. This passage highlights the extent of his treachery. Then one of the 12, the one called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and asked, "What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?" So they counted out for him 30 silver coins. From then on, Judas watched for an opportunity to hand him over. During the Last Supper, Jesus foreshadowed the betrayal of one of his disciples. When Judas received a piece of bread from Jesus, he left to execute his plan, which culminated in Jesus' arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane. The Gospels recount Jesus' repeated predictions of his betrayal, culminating in this tragic event. Judas Iscariot's betrayal remains a stark reminder of the profound consequences of personal greed and the tragic fulfillment of Jesus' forewarnings. At the Last Supper, Jesus shared his final meal with his disciples, knowing that his arrest and crucifixion were imminent. The Gospel of John 13:2 recounts this pivotal moment, where the devil instigated Judas Iscariot to betray Jesus. The Bible does not explicitly explain Judas' motivations. While his role as the keeper of the money bag might imply greed, another possible reason could be his confusion over Jesus' statements about his impending death. Many people of that time were expecting a political Messiah who would liberate them, and Jesus did not conform to those expectations. The Bible indicates that Satan played a role in Judas's betrayal, but the extent of this influence is not detailed. Judas Iscariot ultimately betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. After the betrayal, Judas was overwhelmed with remorse and attempted to return the money to the chief priests and elders, only to be met with rejection. The priests refused to accept the money back into the temple treasury, deeming it tainted by its association with betrayal. Consequently, Judas threw the silver into the temple and went away, ultimately taking his own life by hanging himself. In the aftermath, the chief priests used the 30 pieces of silver to purchase a potter's field as a burial place for foreigners. This act was seen as fulfilling Old Testament prophecy. The Book of Acts provides a further account of Judas's demise, describing how he purchased a field with the money earned from his betrayal, only to meet a gruesome end. According to Acts, Judas fell headlong in the field, and his body burst open, spilling his intestines. This graphic description highlights the tragic and sorrowful consequences of Judas's betrayal. Judas's actions and their dire consequences underscore the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies and are integral to the narrative of Jesus' sacrificial death and resurrection. Despite his role in the events leading to Jesus' crucifixion, Judas's story emphasizes themes of betrayal, repentance, and divine justice. It serves as a poignant reminder of the importance of genuine repentance and the severe repercussions of disloyalty. The stories of Judas and others who conspired against Jesus reveal the complexities of human nature and the consequences of betraying justice. These accounts highlight how actions driven by fear, ambition, or religious fervor can lead to one's downfall. In Christian belief, the responsibility for Jesus' death extends to all humanity, as his sacrificial death on the cross was essential for atoning for the world's sins and reconciling humanity with God. Through Jesus' sacrifice, God offers forgiveness, redemption, and the chance for a restored relationship with Him. This sacrificial act is a testament to the profound depth of God's love for humanity. Christians believe that God desires the well-being and eternal salvation of all people. Despite the gravity of sin, God provides the opportunity for forgiveness and redemption through faith in Jesus Christ. It is not our place to judge the eternal destinies of others, as only God has the authority to judge the hearts and lives of individuals. As Christians, we are called to embody love, compassion, and grace, following the example of Jesus Christ, who taught us to forgive even those who wrong us. The focus of Christianity is not on retribution or karmic debt, but on the hope and redemption available through Jesus' death and resurrection. Faith is our shield in spiritual battles, and by placing our trust in God, we can face challenges with confidence and strength. As stated in 2 Peter 2:9, "The Lord knows how to deliver the godly out of temptation." God's love is not conditional or based on our actions, but is a divine and unconditional love aimed at restoring our relationship with Him. As Romans 5:8 expresses, "But God demonstrates His own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." This all-encompassing love extends to every person, regardless of their past mistakes or shortcomings. We appreciate you sticking with us till the end. Your support is invaluable to us. Please consider subscribing to our channel, liking this video, and sharing it with others to help our community grow. By doing so, you align yourself with the path to heaven, where God has already prepared a place for us to worship Him. Are you ready to embark on this meaningful journey with us as we strive to spread the gospel of love to Christians around the world?